A woman discovered something terrifying on her way home. She saw her husband walking out of a bar with a female student. Their affectionate behavior clearly went beyond a teacher-student relationship. When her husband came home, she still tried to reconcile. The woman hoped to have a child in order to save this marriage that was about to break.
Child is not a hobby.
Not a hobby. An inspiration.
Facing his wife's unreasonable behavior, Nick also lost his patience. He did not expect that a child could restore their marriage. He was even cruel enough to push his wife down. Looking at the man in front of her, the woman completely gave up hope. To take revenge on this damn scumbag, she drew 10 kilograms of fresh blood, then forcefully threw it onto the cabinet and spread the rest onto the floor. Then she spread the blood out. She took off her gloves and made dragging marks. Finally, she took out a tissue to make it look like it had been cleaned. Daisy wiped away all the blood. Then she took a stick, dipped it in blood, and burned it in the fireplace. She overturned the sofa, shattered the glass coffee table. Finally, Daisy jumped into the lake holding a stone. She just hoped the body would be found by the police quickly. Meanwhile, Nick at the bar suddenly received a call from a neighbor. When he returned home, the door was ajar. Seeing no sign of Daisy, Nick actually felt secretly pleased because they had long begun to resent each other. If his wife left suddenly, it would suit his intentions perfectly, but Nick would never have imagined that since he entered this villa, he had already fallen into Daisy's trap. What met his eyes was the broken coffee table in the living room. Soon the police arrived. Nick explained that because his father was ill, he and his wife moved here 2 years ago and opened a bar for his sister here. Nick suspected his wife had been kidnapped, but the room was clean and tidy, except for an electric iron that wasn't unplugged. There was only a drop of blood on the kitchen cabinet, nothing else unusual. The police took Nick to the station, collected his fingerprints and saliva, but when the female officer asked about Daisy's basic information, he hesitated and stammered. He didn't even know his wife's blood type. This made the police suspicious of him, since a thorough investigation of the house was needed. Nick had to stay at his sister's place for a few days. Soon the forensic team made a discovery at the scene. The blood on the cabinet was splattered, which might be normal in a kitchen, but this position was unusually high. At the same time, colleagues found that not only this villa, but all assets under their names were in Daisy's name. Daily expenses were paid with her card. Even his sister's bar was funded by Daisy. The police also found a letter with clues in his personal belongings. Because Daisy was a public figure, the next day Nick held a press conference with his father-in-law, hoping for tips from informants. His father even set up a 24-hour hotline and recruited many volunteers, but Nick seemed distracted and even smiled strangely during the press conference. After it ended, the female officer approached Nick alone and showed him the letter from last night. Nick explained it was a treasure hunt game they played on anniversaries. The officer thought it might be a clue left by Daisy. Following the letter's hints, Nick went to his office and indeed found a second clue on the desk. It asked him to find a small brown house, but the female officer found something unexpected there. Seeing this, Nick panicked, quickly claimed he had no idea where the brown house was. That night, he secretly went to an abandoned wooden cabin, but when he opened the door, the alarm went off immediately. At the same time, the security company called. Nick explained he entered the wrong code, hoping they would disable the alarm. Then he noticed a third clue on the table. Before he could read it, the female officer walked in. He quickly slipped the letter into his pocket, clearly wanting to hide the information. Nick said it was his father's old house. He checked it every week after his father went to a nursing home. The officer asked if this was the brown house in the letter. Nick said